REDFM ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸੁਣ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ ਜੀ ਤੇ ਇੱਕ ਸਪੈਸ਼ਲ ਖਾਸ ਗੈਸਟ ਸਾਡੇ ਅੱਜ ਸਟੂਡੀਓ 'ਚ ਨੇ। ਅੱਜ ਪ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਮਾਰਕ ਕਾਰਨੀ ਅਸਲ 'ਚ ਬਰੈਂਪਟਨ ਸਨ ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਇੱਕ ਇੰਪੋਰਟੈਂਟ ਅਨਾਊਂਸਮੈਂਟ ਕੀਤੀ, ਬਿਲਡਿੰਗ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਸਟਰੋਂਗ ਫੰਡ, ਉਹਨੂੰ ਲਾਂਚ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਉਹ ਇੱਥੇ ਸਨ। ਅਤੇ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਫੰਡ ਹੈ ਇਨਫਰਾਸਟਰਕਚਰ, ਲੋਕਲ ਇਨਫਰਾਸਟਰਕਚਰ ਨੂੰ ਬਿਲਡ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ, ਐਕਸਪੈਂਡ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ ਰੱਖਿਆ ਗਿਆ। ਅਤੇ ਇਸੇ ਸੰਬੰਧ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਫੈਡਰਲ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਆਫ ਹਾਊਸਿੰਗ ਐਂਡ ਇਨਫਰਾਸਟਰਕਚਰ ਗ੍ਰੈਗਰ ਰੋਬਰਟਸਨ ਵੀ ਸਨ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਿ ਹਾਊਸਿੰਗ ਸਾਡਾ ਬੜਾ ਵੱਡਾ ਕੰਸਰਨ ਹੈ। ਬਰੈਂਪਟਨ 'ਚ ਅਕਸਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਹਾਊਸਿੰਗ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਜਾਂ ਪੂਰੀ ਸਾਡੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਹੈ ਉਹਦੇ 'ਚ ਹਾਊਸਿੰਗ ਬੜਾ ਵੱਡਾ ਕੰਸਰਨ ਹੈ। ਅਤੇ ਹਾਊਸਿੰਗ ਰਿਲੇਟਡ ਕਈ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਕੰਸਰਨ ਨੇ। ਪਿਛਲੇ ਦਿਨਾਂ 'ਚੋਂ ਜਦੋਂ ਤੋਂ ਇਹ HST ਰਿਬੇਟ ਅਤੇ ਡਿਵੈਲਪਮੈਂਟਲ ਚਾਰਜਸ ਰਿਡਕਸ਼ਨ ਇਹ ਅਨਾਊਂਸਮੈਂਟਸ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ ਨੇ, ਅਸੀਂ ਕਾਫੀ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਇਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ। ਅਤੇ ਅੱਜ ਕੁਦਰਤੀ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਰਾਬਰਟਸਨ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਨੇ ਇੱਥੇ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਅਸੀਂ ਕੁਛ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਇਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ। Minister, welcome and thanks for coming to our studio.
It's good to be with you here.
Minister, you joined today's announcement in Brampton about building Community Strong Fund.
Mm-hmm.
So can you briefly tell us what was announced?
I'd love to. We announced with the Prime Minister a $51 billion Build Community Strong Fund, which is investing across the country at the community level. So today we announced in Brampton $64 million for the new Embleton Community Center, which has been a project that the local MP, Sonia Sidhu, was a very big champion of. Our whole Brampton MP team has been very strong advocates for investing in the community here in Brampton. And across Canada, in my city in Vancouver, we're investing in the Marpole Community Center in South Vancouver, which is close to where I serve. We have investments in community infrastructure. Some of that is to enable housing, so water and wastewater sewer systems, stormwater systems. Public transit is part of it. Arts and culture and sports facilities are part of that as well. So a broad range of infrastructure that builds our communities stronger and also enables us to build more housing and grow our population too.
And your government says this initiative could boost Canada GDP by 95 billion over a decade. So how will that happen? Can you explain?
Well, very significant scale of investment that creates jobs. Many professions, from the engineers to the trades, to build all this infrastructure. And the housing that's connected to it. So lots of job opportunities for many years to come. We're basically doubling the amount of infrastructure we build for the next 8 years from the last 8 years. So we have to train people, get young people into the trades to build. This is part of making our economy stronger in Canada, our domestic economy. We also need to build our trade relations. We see the Prime Minister with Prime Minister Modi in India and opening up new relationships for trade, but we have to focus on building here in Canada, housing, infrastructure, major projects to create the jobs here locally too.
Your government recently announced two measures in Ontario. One is HST rebate on new homes.
Yes.
And then 50% cut in developmental charges.
Right.
So both are funded by taxpayers. But builders ultimately set the price. And there are concerns that these savings may not be passed on to buyers. So how will your government ensure that it happens?
Yeah, that's a good question. And we have significant investment there to bring down the cost of home building. The HST relief for 1 year, starting this month and April 1st, that we announced, the Prime Minister and Premier Ford announced last week here in the GTA, we will see that reduction of HST, which is obviously a direct reduction in the cost for new homes. The development charges, that's an infrastructure investment that basically reduces the development charges. Ontario, the province, will make sure that those charges are reduced in the local governments. That will bring down home building costs as well for developers. We will be watching very closely. Premier Ford actually said in the announcement he will be tracking to make sure that development charges go down, and we'll all be tracking to see that the market prices come down. It will be up to $200,000 off of a new home with those savings. And we have to watch that, just as we did with gas prices that happened with the consumer carbon tax. We can track it. We can see the prices come down to reflect the government investment. And because that's the goal here, is to give people a break on buying new homes, to get the industry building again. Right now, nobody's building. Everyone's uncertain. We need to get the market going again by offering that savings.
Minister, I asked this question to Brampton Mayor Patrick Brown about this, passing on these savings to buyers. And he said he can't say anything. He's not sure about this.
Well, the cities like Brampton will be reducing their development charges to reflect the investment in infrastructure that typically the cities make. I used to be a mayor in Vancouver, and our development charge money goes straight into infrastructure. So by investing in infrastructure as Canada, we will see those charges come down. And we need to see the prices come down. That's the whole purpose here, is to bring the prices down, to track that, make sure it's reflected. And we've had a lot of meetings with the development industry who've been asking for this so they can bring their prices down. Right now they can't build because of the cost of development charges. The cost of home building is too high. And the markets, have gotten soft. So people are not buying. Prices are too high. I think everyone knows the prices need to come down more to get the market going. And at the same time, we need the jobs to build the housing too. There's a lot of construction jobs that are at risk right now.
But we have heard from the community that builders are already raising their prices to accommodate these savings.
Really? Okay. I'm not hearing about prices. Generally, across the country right now, prices have been going down.
After the announcement, they have actually some builders stopped booking and may come up with new prices. So stuff like that happening.
Okay. Well, we'll be watching that very closely, because that's not the purpose of these investments.
And overall, housing is still out of reach for many Canadians, especially salaried class. So based on your analysis, what should be an affordable average home price look like in major markets like GTA and Vancouver?
Yeah, it's more expensive in the GTA and Vancouver. Those are the two most expensive markets.
So what's the ideal affordable price?
Yeah, for us, affordability is now measured against income. That is how we have changed the system. So 30% of your gross income is the definition for affordability in your area. So if we look at the Peel region or here, we look at the average income, 30% of that should go to housing or less.
But the average income is not more than 100,000 a year. So with that income, so average price should be 500,000.
Yeah, basically we measure 30% of income should be applied to your mortgage or your rent payment every month. So that's the standard that we've set. Formerly, it was based on the price of the housing in that region, which isn't fair to everybody. If you have a lower income, you won't be able to afford to stay in the community. So we've changed it to the definition now to make sure people can stay in their communities, and we're building enough affordable housing for people on lower incomes.
And there's another perspective, Minister. Critics say the market is already correcting, and that incentives like this, rebates and DC cuts, mainly help builders rather than buyers. How do you respond to that?
Yeah, I don't think that's the case. We looked at it very closely. We're only doing a 1-year break for HST to see what the impact is. The industry, I think, would like to see longer, to see a longer commitment. We decided 1 year, we'll see how it goes. We'll see if the prices come down, if we get more affordability, if the home building industry gets more business and creates the jobs. So we're tracking it very closely. 1 year from now, we make a decision whether it continues. And same with infrastructure investment. We can adjust it based on the market improving.
And people who in the sector, in the industry, they say mortgage fraud is the key driver of housing crisis. And they ask, why hasn't income verification been directly linked with the CRA data yet? talking
it's-
about this for last many years.
It is, and it came up in the fall budget. Last fall, the CRA has announced a new process working with the industry and the financial institutions to make sure there is no mortgage fraud. So there are new systems that will come in to make sure to validate or verify people's incomes. We don't have a final decision on that yet, but they've been working on it over the winter, and I expect we will hear back on that soon.
And one more. In USA, borrower can lock in their mortgage rates for the whole amortization period. It can be 25 years or 30 years or whatever. Why isn't that available in Canada?
Yeah, it's a good question. And we also see in Europe, people have longer amortization period. People can amortize for 50 years or more, which Canada has a different system. It is more flexible. So when mortgage interest rates go down, you can renegotiate and bring your rates down. It's not so good when it goes up, which we saw the last few years. Lots of us, when we renewed our mortgage, we have to pay more, which is difficult. And this is certainly an issue we're looking at closely. The Prime Minister used to run the Bank of Canada as the governor and the Bank of England. He's very familiar with how to address these issues around mortgage rates, amortization periods. I know we're in discussions on that to talk about what are some tools we can use to make it our mortgage system more responsive for Canadians. Ours is different from Europe, different from the United States. Are there changes we can make to improve the system, give people more options for affordability? That's certainly something we're considering going forward. Between my housing team, finance, and the Prime Minister. Those are ongoing discussions.
And Minister, many people in our community, they believe and say that governments are not working for common people. They are working to protect interest of banking sector, of builders, and big lobbies. So that's their concern. So how would you...
Well, I disagree.
To that.
Yeah, we have to be responsive to the economy and to business, but we are elected by people. All of us, we're in a democracy and we serve the people. So first and foremost, we have to look at what is the impact on people in the real world, in our communities. What do our actions result in for our people? We have to make sure we're listening and talking with industry, or make sure we're talking with other levels of government, because the city government regulates a lot of these issues. The province has a role to play. We are all partners in making sure we're delivering for people, and also being responsive to the concerns and how the economy is going. So, there's some balance there, but we serve the people.
And finally, is there anything else you would like Canadians to know about your housing strategy?
Well, yes, I'm really excited about the work to modernize our housing industry. We're looking at more manufacturing, so bringing jobs into factories to build components for housing, panels, kitchens and bathrooms, sometimes whole modular homes. We're looking at modernizing the industry so we can build faster, more affordably, year-round, and that process of modernizing and industrializing housing, I think, will create lots of great jobs and make our housing more affordable. And really, on both housing and infrastructure, we're talking about much more investment, making this a real focus of Government of Canada. For many years, it was less of a focus. We know we need to invest in housing and infrastructure to make our country stronger, to create the jobs. So I'm very honored to serve and work with all the great workers and companies that do build, because we're very proud of what we do build in Canada, but we need to do more and we need to make it more affordable.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you very much.
My pleasure to be here.